Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. We're on the other news show. I'm with the wonderful Dave Wells, and it's good to see everybody just before the New Year's. Dave, it's great to see
Right.
you.
And it's great to see you again, my friend, and Merry Christmas, belated Merry Christmas, and hope for a happy, prosperous New Year.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, today yeah, you were asking about Trinidad. We got back from Trinidad a couple of weeks ago,
Yes.
and Tobago, and we hadn't been there. It's amazing. You forget how long. Like I thought I was just there a couple of years ago, but when we did when we dove deeper, I went, "Hey, it's been like 2019 we were there.
Oh, okay.
Like
Well, 6 years.
that's like 6 years ago."
Mm-hmm.
And it just felt like, you know how you go somewhere and you think,
I mean,
"Oh, it's just here," but um,
it only gets worse as you get older. The math gets to be even more depressing.
well, and it was
Not
like,
depressing, but
yeah. So we went to see some family on my wife's side. Unfortunately, a few people passed away, mother-in-law included,
right. Well,
prior to us getting there, and then my niece as well, and her husband died,
oh
and
dear.
we really missed them, the impact, because generally we would
What
see
happened?
them. What's that?
Like a car accident, or
Um, I'm just grabbing a coffee.
yeah?
What happened was, this is the story, because I kind of wanted to share it. Um, as you guys have, maybe some of people know, Trinidad is it's an oil-rich country. It's just near Venezuela. Like you can see Venezuela from the
Yes. Right.
south end. Um, my niece sadly was shot.
Oh my God.
There was a chase. She lives right off the highway near the
Okay.
um, one of the big highways, and what happened was it was a gang related thing. A bunch of guys were chasing another
Boy.
guy, some rapper. They ended up pulling over the highway, jumped onto her property, went around. And now the story had been clarified for me because when this went down, when this happened, it was a while ago.
Okay.
It was on the news, and somebody had family and friends were in the news was telling me she actually looked out the window and got shot in the head. The reality was I found out. I don't know if that was somebody else, but she was behind. She was, I guess, sitting and not even like she was near the window, but she was
Right.
looking away. I don't know exactly how but the
Hmm.
bullet kind of went and got her here,
Wow.
like into her brain.
Yeah.
Um, so she got shot in the face and went into her brain, I guess, and
Ugh.
she didn't know what was coming. Now, the original story was I clarified it when I got there that I thought she was looking outside and saw what was going on, and then they took a shot at her because they didn't want
Right.
witnesses. But apparently, she was killed, and I think a few of the gang members and maybe the I didn't follow up on the whole story because it was a while ago, but
Right.
it was kind of what was going on there for a while. It was getting a little over the top.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah, and then my her husband had died during was after COVID that
Uh-huh.
ended, but he I think he took something maybe work related. He used to do maintenance on appliances,
Right.
and he had some breathing issue, and he didn't get it attended to, and he ended up basically dying. I don't know exactly all
Mm.
those details, but and then my niece went. So yeah, and then my brother-in-law was passed away as well a while ago, and he had.
How old were they?
My brother-in-law was probably in his late 60s,
Okay.
and my niece was in her 40s,
Oh,
and her husband, and my mother-in-law was obviously,
right.
she had been quite elderly, and she
Yeah,
passed away,
right.
natural causes.
Yeah. Well, that's the way to go. There's a YouTube guy that I watch and have watched called Adam the Woo, and he has spent maybe 16 years going from different towns in the U.S. Anyway, he died in his sleep on Sunday night.
Oh
He
no.
was 51 years old, it was kind of sad. He was an interesting guy. Adam the Woo. If you haven't seen him on YouTube, I would recommend him. He did a really neat little thing on. He lives in Celebration, Florida, and
Oh.
taking his electric golf cart around the city for a Christmas lighting ceremony.
Oh.
That was the last thing he did with the Grinch.
Oh wow.
Anyway, it's just
Speaking of Grinch, I'm just sorry, I'm eating some chocolate.
oh,
I got this
good for
I
you.
got this Christmas chocolate, and I just had one with my coffee here. But
We
the Grinch didn't steal it.
had chocolates, but we pretty well finished them all. I tried to leave the last batch alone because I stole a lot of the first batch.
You know what? Today I've been a little bad. I have been digging in I mean, I haven't been eating a lot, but I have been
Right.
eating chocolate.
Well,
But
chocolate ends up being a big part of my diet at Christmas.
what's that?
At Christmas, yeah, I eat a lot of chocolate.
Yeah, I mean,
Get two
hey,
boxes. So Patty's birthday is just before Christmas.
oh
So
yeah.
it's an overlap of the Christmas and birthday. So there's a lot of chocolate around for about a 2 week period, which has been the case. So that's all right.
Well, man, it's really been good
Sure.
I've been thinking about you because we were kind of like again in Trinidad, and now talk about what journey you went to. You went down to
Well, we went to on a cruise and we took a
yeah.
kind of a convoluted route to get there. And on intentionally because I wanted to be as low stress as possible. So we took a seaplane down to Seattle, which is a really nice way to go. It's not cheap,
Hmm.
but if you can afford it's the way to go for sure.
Yeah.
Neat flying there, of course. The scenery is really cool. You land in Lake Union. We stayed overnight in Seattle by Lake Union. Took a
Yeah.
cab to the train station, got a train to San Francisco or Emeryville, San Francisco. Stayed with some friends of ours for a couple of days and went from Oakland to Long Beach, which is an open air airport. Much nicer to go and end up there than LAX for sure. Way, way better.
Yeah.
And stayed in Seal Beach for a couple of days, which is south of LA and much quieter, much more residential or relaxed, like old school beach town would have been way back when there was still surfers and such. It was very nice for a couple of days. And we got on our cruise and went down to Mazatlan and Cabo San Lucas and Puerto Vallarta.
Puerto Vallarta. I was just looking up Puerto Vallarta on the
We
you
didn't
know,
really get off in Puerto Vallarta. We got off in Cabo San Lucas and we got off in Mazatlan. But in some ways you're better off. If you're on a cruise, you might as well just enjoy the cruise. And the time it takes to get off the boat, get on the bus, do whatever the tour is, get back. Most of the day has gone by, and it's such a whirlwind. You don't really remember much of it. Like it's just boom, you're gone. Now you've seen a cathedral. Now you've seen a art gallery. Now you've seen a movie theater. Whatever. It's a blur.
but
The weather was
what was the first? Okay, Cabo San Lucas would be the first stop, then
yeah.
Puerto Vallarta, then Mazatlan.
Mazatlan was second, then Puerto Vallarta.
Oh, Mazatlan's closer up. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that It's kind of a direct from Cabo, I think, over across to the mainland for Mazatlan.
How is it there? How was it?
I liked it. It was a very big. It's a big city, a lot bigger than I thought. And there's something like 6 million people there. Uh,
Wow.
it was hot, but not intolerably so. I could handle it, so that's a good sign. Um, some interesting architecture, of course. Some interesting buildings. Some nice places. Some others maybe not so nice. A lot of beachside restaurants you could go to, which is always very pleasant. They had the cliff divers diving off into the water, tourist things.
Where is
But
that? Mazatlan or
yeah,
Puerto
that's
Rico?
fine. I mean, they have that kind of thing, Puerto Vallarta, but we didn't get off there, as I say. And the cruise is great, good value. Definitely, we got a drink package. We couldn't even finish the number of drinks we had. 15 drinks a day or allowed. We couldn't even get close. I mean, but at least then you don't have to tip. You don't have to keep track of what you're doing. It's all just included. So that was good. The food was really good. Royal Princess was
Oh,
the
Royal Princess. That's is
the
that
original Love Boat, apparently.
is that like yeah, that's the it's is it mainly adults or kids too?
It was kids too. There was a really good wide range of people, which I was happy to see. I didn't want it to be, just old people or all young people or whatever.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
good range. The pool wasn't that big. There were two pools, but they weren't that big. But that didn't seem to stop people that much. Again, a lot of restaurants, a lot of choice, some good music, some jazz bands that we
Yeah.
watched that were really good. We even went to the like the Broadway kind of shows in the theater there, which is about 1,500 people at seat. So it's a big place. Things I would not normally go to, like a magician. I never do that. Or, a salute to Broadway. I would never do that. But you're on a cruise, you're a captive audience.
Oh,
Why not?
you got all those
No,
shows, man. You got
exactly.
all those.
And they were good. I have to say, they were good. Like
Yeah.
I wouldn't, run out and buy tickets, but as part of the whole shebang, well, yeah, it was fine. I won a musical trivial quiz on Motown and R&B music from the 60s and the 70s. So that was I won a knapsack. So big time congratulations and over there. It was it was
That's awesome.
it was
That,
it was really good. Then we went to Palm Springs.
how was that?
It was cool. It wasn't that cool as in not that warm. Um, we had to drive through a torrential downpour from LA to get to Palm Springs, which is a real white knuckle drive because people don't know how to drive in the rain down there. Really?
Oh,
Well, they go too fast. I mean,
yeah.
hydroplaning because they're not used to having water on the freeway, and it's all oily water because they don't get any rain, so it gets really greasy really quickly. And we stopped for an In-N-Out burger on the way. Just my son wanted us to go get a hat for his daughter Valentina, which we did. But there was a big accident on the road past In-N-Out burger between there and Palm Springs that we just missed because we'd gone to In-N-Out burger. There was a three-car pileup, and people they lost their lives. It was really a nasty accident that we might have been part of, and we were part of because the shrapnel that was still on the road gave us a flat tire, and we limped off to the side of the road in a pouring rainstorm. And fortunately, there was still California Highway Patrol a person there that got a tow truck for us, but it still took about 2 hours. Sitting beside the side of the road in a pouring rainstorm, we were all wet because we got off the cruise and there was no umbrellas. We didn't have umbrellas. We didn't expect that. So just for the run to get the Uber, we were drenched, and then we had to have 2 hours of sitting in a car that was heated but with wet clothes on. So we all got sick, eventually. Like it might have taken a couple of days. We all ended up with a cold. So by the time we came home, we were all sick.
Oh, so
So that,
you
that
got sick in Palm Springs.
well, we were okay there. It was mostly when we got on the plane.
Oh.
that it seemed to kick in for both Patty and I.
Oh, so you flew from Palm Springs back home.
Yeah, yeah. And the worst part of the trip really was landing in Vancouver and having to go through passport control and all that garbage on the way home, because they have all these high tech machines now that read your scans and all this other stuff. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. But frankly, I don't travel a lot, so when it's 4 or 5 years between traveling, I don't know what these machines do. I don't know where to put the passport. They seem kind of vague to me, and the whole thing was very traumatic. I didn't like it, and I would go. I would do anything to go somewhere else. I will go to fly into Seattle and take a seaplane or the Clipper back, even if it means I have to stay overnight in Seattle rather than go through Vancouver Airport again.
I usually fly back direct to Victoria, and coming back to Victoria is a lot chiller.
Oh, that's way better. I mean, but the thing, at Vancouver, because it was WestJet to WestJet Palm Springs to Vancouver, WestJet to Victoria. But the WestJet gate was the very last gate at the very end of the terminal. So it was this, I don't know, like 40-minute walk to get from where we landed to where we had to go. And it was
In
not,
Vancouver.
yeah, in Vancouver. It was a really long, long, long walk. And we weren't happy anyway because we were feeling sick. So,
So and then you took the ferry over to the island, right?
no, we flew from,
Oh, you flew,
yeah,
but it
yeah,
was just the transferring from.
yeah, yeah,
I
just
thought
after.
you. Oh, okay, I thought you were getting out in Vancouver.
No,
Sorry.
well, no, that's okay. We should have maybe done that. But, I mean, it's a 20-minute, 30-minute flight. You're here and, it's
Yeah,
up.
it's
But
a lot quicker, but it does cost a little dough unless you get a deal. So, yeah,
yeah,
but it is speed up the hour and 2 hour ferry plus the drive. So, yeah.
I'm not really a fan of airplanes and basically in any form. So 3.5 hours or so from Palm Springs to Vancouver is about my limit for planes. I have friends who, can go on a plane for 14 or 15 hours and seem to manage, but not anymore. That's why we took the train. The train was really nice for overnight. Very laid back. That's what the whole
The
thing was.
train, you
Laid
took the train down to the
San
crew,
Francisco, Seattle to San Francisco.
Seattle, San
So it was
Francisco,
overnight. We had a roomette. So we
and
had
then
berth
you
thing
got, oh, you got on the cruise ship at San Francisco.
in Long Beach. No, we had to go. We went to San Francisco, visited with friends, drove to Oakland, Oakland,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
and went from Oakland to Long Beach. So
Hey,
it was
right on. Well, like anybody watching, you got your holiday. A lot of people are traveling on the holiday and before the holiday, like
fun.
we did,
Yeah,
to
good time
save
to
some.
go because it was quiet. Seattle was quiet because it was before Thanksgiving. So
Yeah.
that lull period. And deciding to stay by Lake Union was also another good choice because it's not quite as wacky as downtown has been. In my experience in the last 5 years, when I've been there, it hasn't. It's there's a lot of crazy people there.
In Seattle?
Oh God, yeah,
Well,
downtown.
I went to the MLB, I went to the Seattle Mariners and Jays game.
Mm,
So, I mean, we were near the Space Needle, and then we just took a subway
right.
down to the. I like to be honest, I
But the
didn't.
monorail is okay.
Yeah, I mean, and then we got out at the stadium, so I didn't really tour
Yeah,
Seattle much, but
by Belltown, Pike's Market. There's an area just I think west of Pike's Market, little like Chinatown, which
yeah.
unfortunately has ended up becoming very, very dangerous, not because of the poor people who live there and work there, but because of the druggies that have decided to descend upon it and have an open air theft market.
Oh,
So
is that at the Pike Market?
it's not there. It's down, I think, again a little west of there. My son would know more because he goes there quite often. They go down for the Mariners or the Seahawks and stuff like that all the time.
So the
They're going
game,
down there tomorrow, actually.
so it's pretty like the police aren't doing well down there. They're not
Oh,
really,
they're told not to do anything.
yeah.
You
And
know.
that's really unfortunate. I mean, last time I was in San Francisco, I found it pretty good. I think I
Right.
heard the police were stepping up. There wasn't many.
Well, I know that my friend who lives there, well, I live in San Rafael, so that's north of San Francisco. But he said there's less tents along the freeway. So
Yeah,
he
I heard they.
noticed that. I'm not so sure about some of the downtown of San Francisco because there's a lot by Union Square that is empty. You know, the Westfield Mall. I think it's a really big mall. Anyway, I think there's only two tenants left in it.
Well, we were downtown. We went to this Italian park. We were down by Alcatraz and a few places, and I found it really amazing. It was really good. There was a lot.
Right.
From what people told me prior, it all happened when they had the Chinese visit, you know,
Oh, cleaned up
and
everything,
then
man.
they cleaned it up in terms of
Oh, definitely.
secure, because Newsom wanted some,
Mm.
and all the San Francisco businesses were getting upset and said, "Hey, if you don't
Well,
do
I don't
something,
blame them.
yeah." And so I think that they finally, because it's a multi-billion dollar industry there for
Yeah,
tourism,
yeah.
so they
Well,
smartened up.
well,
They did smarten up in San
oh,
Francisco, from what
good to
I've
know.
been hearing
My
now.
my, my friends primarily really stay in San Rafael. He has now got a job, even at 70 years of
Yeah.
age, doing something to do with AI, which he's very good at. So he actually does go to work 2 days a week now, all the way down into Silicon Valley, which is a good hour and a
Yeah, yeah,
quarter.
we were passing through there,
So that
San
he does
Jose.
that 2 days a week, and then he does work from home for 3 days a week. So good for him for being 70 and having that kind of energy, because I couldn't take an hour and a half train or commute to get to work. I'd be asleep by the time I got there. I'd wake up or it would be too late. So
Well, hey, the main thing is, if you know my face is glowing, I got a candle here, by the way. Don't worry.
ah
Um,
okay.
um, what I was saying is, I do think that they picked up the game in Seattle, excuse me,
Well,
for,
you would hope people would. It hasn't been a very productive period of time. We can certainly attest to that here in Victoria, where I experienced the tent city close and personal 10 years ago,
yeah.
almost to the day. It started 10 years ago this fall. And, walking downtown now recently has not been much of an improvement at all, frankly. And I know that it just seems to be spread out more, that there are little pockets of homeless people, but they're now all over the place as opposed to just down by Pandora Street. We have a triangle of grass just below us, looking down south of us, and they've had to fence that all up under remediation because it was being used, and there's very little place to camp there. But what little room there had been was now a big muddy field full of needles and human waste because there's no bathroom over there. So it is now all fenced off for the winter. I dare say it'll be, well, we'll see what happens in the spring. It took me something like 49 bylaw complaints, you know?
Well, like I was just hearing a thing. I'm looking up a stat here. And fentanyl is about 50 to 100 times more potent than morphine,
Yeah.
50 more times potent than heroin,
Mm.
right? So we, and whatever, it's more than cocaine, like by
Oh,
multitudes. But the point I'm saying is, we've talked about this on the program before. It's like, when is this government going to realize that they've got to clamp down on fentanyl and crack, like in a serious way? Because
well,
it's
really,
bankrupting our health system. It's putting
no kidding.
pressure on our first responders. It's
Well,
it's destroying, sort of like it's like, it's kind of like you got to either go for it and say enough is enough. The experiment hasn't worked. There's like crime. These poor souls. I mean, they're hunched over. You
Well,
know.
taken terrific advantage of on so many different fronts. And, it has been documented now that the mainland and the interior mainland is rife with drug labs that then take the final product down through the U.S. and different trucking lines and or
I
ports.
know.
I
And
mean,
it's
we're
like,
bigger than LA for that. Vancouver is a really big source for all of this stuff. So there's a Mr. or Mrs. Biggs out there who are making millions and millions of dollars, which have been laundering through our real estate system for decades. And here we are, and
well, yeah, like the
so many people
experiment's
that
over,
are,
Dave. It's
yeah,
like it's
no,
not working.
no,
It's got to be banned. I mean, like it's killing people. It's putting stress on, like in the hospitals. We need operations done for
uh,
people. And
well,
this is just like you're literally seeing, and I've witnessed it because I'm involved
yeah,
in emergency response, and I've already seen, working with different agencies, people dying left and right and center because it's 50, like I read, 50 to 100 times
oh
more
yeah,
potent than heroin, fentanyl.
mm-hmm.
So you're taking a risk every time you take this stuff,
Exactly.
especially if it's on the street. So enough's enough. And it's like I was looking at old Victoria, BC photos from
Mm,
this Facebook group.
right.
And I remember how beautiful Victoria used to
Yes.
be. I mean, yeah, we had problems, no doubt,
Wow.
but not like walking around and you're stepping in feces,
I know.
seeing
Yes.
urine
Yeah.
and graffiti everywhere, and it's not safe. And it's like, when is enough? Like every single city in BC now, if it's a hundred
Oh,
thousand or less, is getting this stuff happen downtown because
oh,
so
the
like, when is it
plan,
enough?
planned
Like,
demolition, as far as I can see. I think that somehow the people want this to happen. It's
well,
pretty.
it's a planned thing, I think, from these cynical, maybe call them oligarchs or whoever's behind the scenes, but whatever. It's like people got to say enough's enough. I'm tired of seeing people passed out in front of my business when I'm trying to open
Oh
up.
yeah.
And it's like, yeah, okay, we can help people put them in we've got buildings, but these drugs,
Well,
like it should be banned because I've been taking courses and I've been understanding what other viewpoints are, but I know they're going to get the drugs even if it's not
well,
legal. I
where
get it,
there's
but
a,
we got to start somewhere, right?
but
Like,
I think that the amount of it is what makes the difference, and the quantity and the quality of what make gets into the country is what clearly is the problem. And yeah, enabling it by having a so-called
well,
safe
when you
is the
got it on the streets for a few bucks, people are
exactly
just going to keep snapping it up like
a case
candy. So
of
you
beer
got
more.
you got to make it difficult because if
Yeah,
people don't have a lot of money, okay, I'm even saying advocate. I'd rather see somebody take heroin or cocaine than this stuff because
natural.
it's got more. It's not good, but it's like not as deadly. So
Well,
enough's enough. Like
been a
I'm
that's been built up around the enabling of this, and it clearly does not work. And they need to be institutionalized and really weaned off of whatever it is as much as we possibly can.
Well, yeah, you wean it off, and then
I mean,
okay, they're gonna take a different drug of choice. I get it, but it's not something that they're gonna put them in the grave quick, and that's my whole
right.
point. Like, put
Well,
them on put them
the,
on something a bit more.
the number of times they have to be revised for this Narcan stuff, they
Well,
lose
yeah, I mean,
cells every time that happens. It's not like they get back to normal. They end up being even more of a walking
well,
zombie.
it's and yeah, long-term brain
Oh,
injuries, and then you got to deal with them in the medical system. And you got these poor
well, sure.
guys they're so fried at 52 that here we go. The brain cells aren't healthy anymore because they've got the jaw, they've got the
Right.
swollen everything, and they're impaired mentally.
Yeah, of
And
course. Yeah.
now,
And
and it's like, I hate to say it, but the enemies of this country love it.
well,
Like they love to see our
I
systems
know.
overwhelmed, people triggered,
It's a
and
long game to them. It's 1,000
yeah, it's a long game,
25.
population control. we'll just bankrupt taxpayers or frustrated
Yeah,
price. Downtown isn't safe.
definitely.
And I mean, it doesn't take much. The experiment, like I said, is over. Like we
Well,
gotta start pushing for
I agree 100%.
the
It'll
NDP vision is for this stuff.
yeah,
Like they will
failed on
not
every
they
level.
like there has to be a new movement now, like
Well,
in a strong way where people are protesting in front of Parliament buildings saying, listen, no more to drugs on the street. Like it's gonna take another wave of, like I see these visions and these elderly white ladies talking about, well, it's safe spaces and all these things, and they're so they don't even work with these homeless
exactly.
people. They're in
They
their
diluted.
cafeterias, or they're paid for a house that they've worked for maybe,
They're
but
deluded. They're
and then and
deluded.
they go out during the day and they see a few people and they make a few conversations, but when the nighttime hit
Well, they're
and
not going to
people
have
are
them in their house.
yeah, when people are getting assaulted or having
Yeah.
to deal with their bike getting
Oh, I know.
bike lock
Well,
getting stolen.
the
Like
good.
I had a guy that I heard about, he had a $1,000 electric bike from
Oh, yeah,
Walmart. Just, they hacked his lock off, took it,
of course.
and they went to probably just paint it and maybe sell it for some drug money or, whatever. And bikes are going left and center, right?
Of course.
So that was one of my things today I wanted to say. The experiment is just over. Like we got to start, like 25 years ago, our streets in Victoria, it was a nice place.
I
You know,
came here
and
20.
all the towns in BC we had an innocence about us.
Yeah.
And we knew that there was drugs going on, but it wasn't allowed to all this hard stuff and all, and the cops, I mean, the police and the federal
Well,
government and
every,
catch and release and all this.
yeah.
There's an uprising that's
Oh,
got to begin.
there's that fellow whose lawyer just got released. A Canadian guy, former ski boarder, and he's some kind of drug, you know, maestro. And they arrested his Toronto lawyer, but he got out within a couple of days, if even that. So yeah, if you're going to let all these people go, it's just the definition of insanity. What do you expect? You're not doing anything to stop it. And
Well, yeah. I
just
mean,
be so smug as to assume that somehow it's not happening here. Well, it is happening here. We're probably the worst place in the world for it right now, thanks to China and Mexico and whoever other countries are moving this stuff into us. But
well, yeah, you go
no,
to Trinidad, like I went down to Tobago. You don't see this.
no,
You don't see you don't because people down there, I mean, they have pretty good income in Trinidad and Tobago, but like when I started traveling and seeing, like you don't see this in a lot of parts of the world. I think it's done by design. I mean, they've
that
got problems. I'm not telling, I talked about my
well,
niece earlier, but this particular drug experiment is over.
mm,
It's done.
well, it
It's
comes.
not working.
People are supposed to be worshiping the state, and the the benefits of having a drug the stupid population is that they will always come to the government for help. And this to me is what the essence of what so many layers of government are trying to do is make it so
No.
that everyone is dependent on a government that frankly can't get out of its own way and doesn't really give the help that maybe we need. I think when you look at countries like Tobago, and I don't know this, but I think anywhere that has any kind of family basis more,
Yeah.
excuse me, is a step ahead of us because sadly, the family connection here in a lot of ways has been lost. And of
Yeah. Well, like it's a divisive issue that should
course
be
it is.
it has to be stopped too,
Yeah.
because we know that there's drug seizures happening in Vancouver,
Hey,
right? But like it has to go, it has to step up, and we got to change the laws. And the only way we're going to change the laws is if we get a new government in
Well,
BC.
I mean, think of even just the fact that with the NDP, we don't even know whether we own our own property.
Well, yeah, and it's getting to a point where we really, I mean, we had the trucker convoy, but now I think we need to have like a serious, there's got to be no minority government. We need a government that's majority. It's not
Well,
NDP, it's
yeah,
not the liberal mandate.
of
And if
course,
it's
all
the conservatives are definitely from what the mandates are, or their platform is definitely, it's not perfect, but it's a step up.
well,
So
it would appear to me that what we're seeing in so many areas of the United States government with all these non-governmental organizations is something that has been mirrored up here very clearly, in that there's
it's
an awful
spreading,
lot of money laundering going on here,
spreading.
a lot of corruption,
They're
and
sending, yeah.
people don't want to hear about it. Well, they have to hear about it. These are when you see what's happening in Minneapolis right now with all these fake, daycare clinics and all these fake, old age homes. It's outrageous,
Oh man, it's
and it's
unbelievable.
everywhere. I mean, part of I remember there was a group called the We Foundation in Canada that
Yeah,
Trudeau,
I remember that one.
and millions of dollars, and that was the same kind of idea where they would give a little money, and then these people would be their propaganda, puppets, as it were.
Well, I thought about
Yeah.
that. Exactly, Dave. What I thought about prior to coming here, talking to you,
Mm.
is that the government will give this money to universities like Royal Roads, UVic.
Um,
They're going to send this money to propagate
yeah,
their agenda, which is
absolutely.
drugs. Like they call it, basically.
Well,
Let,
any kind of woke agenda, whether it be
well, yeah, like call it safe drugs or whatever it is, safe supply.
well,
There's
it's
no safe supply
triumvirate
with,
because it's drugs, it's Palestine, and it's transgender rights. That's
and
the
that is
triumvirate.
all. Yeah, and that's my argument.
You
It's
know,
being pumped into UVic, into
well,
the
it's
alumni, the Royal Roads, and they say, well, we're not political, but when
oh
you
yeah,
go there and challenge the Green Party or the
absolutely.
NDP kind of mojo there,
They're
you
90% of the academic
it's all indoctrination into, it's
well, not
not, there's no,
that, but universities now are four administrators for every two students. So in other
yeah.
words, one professor, four administrative people, and then you're being charged $100,000 a year, 20,000 for the professor, and $80,000 for the admin people that don't do much of anything. We saw at Brown's University where that tragically that young girl got shot and the professor got shot in Boston. That these places don't even know how to have security properly,
Well,
and
yeah, and it's
yeah,
by
they're
design, right? It's by
yeah, well,
design.
they didn't want anybody to see ICE immigration people, so they shut off all the cameras. Apparently,
Yeah, they don't want immigration, like ICE to
well,
come in.
legal, it should be the word everyone underlines because I don't think people have a problem with immigrants who, do things the right way.
Illegal, yeah,
It's
like
people who
that's it.
are legal here because they undercut everybody. That's what,
Well, and then even in Canada,
of course. Well,
look
look
at
at all the Tim
Tim
Hortons
Horton.
where
Tim,
they're firing everybody who's been there for 10 years.
yeah, Tim Hortons
Disgusting.
is wanting to hire people because they get an incentive. It's
Yeah,
again by
great
design, get
place.
immigrants
Yeah,
here, save money in the
yeah,
corporation, and then put our
and
kids out
buy
of
their
work.
votes and buy
And
their
then
votes.
you get these votes, and then it's just about staying in power.
Exactly. It's not
It's
to
not
do.
helping Canada. It's just to get in power, and it's the
That's
same old
all it's
pattern.
about. That's all it's
So
about. And if anybody, in my lifetime dare tell me that in the last 20 years anything has improved, I'll say they're absolutely delusional because they can't possibly say that. In what way?
no, I mean,
In what
really,
way has it gotten better?
there's been a few structures in Victoria that maybe have been improved, like the bridge on Johnson Street,
Well, yeah,
but the
yeah,
park at Biggin Hill Park has been cleaner now with
right.
needles, and they have made some improvements with fences up in some areas, but it, but they haven't dealt with the root cause, right? And
It's just shifting chairs, like on the deck chairs on the Titanic. I mean, really,
yeah, a little bit of this, a little bit of this, and demoralizing people, demoralizing the forest industry by not
Yeah.
giving clear vision. Like they tell
Oh,
everything has to be run through the First Nations, which there's one group up
well,
northern Vancouver Island in Alert Bay. I think the population, I put it on I put it on Ravi Palmar's
right.
Facebook site,
Yes.
and I said, basically commenting on one of his posts, and I sent him a letter, as he's the forest
Oh,
minister,
I
and
know
I
who
said,
you.
the industry, the forest, sorry, yeah, it's good to get First Nations. I'm not knocking First Nations
Yeah.
that way. It needs to get their input, but their band, of this particular band, had less than 100 people. So you're giving them so much say, yet there's thousands of other
Right.
people, and and it's this subtle psyop mission. Like First Nations, it's got
Yeah.
to always have First Nation, and now they got to have names on First Name. They
Mm,
won't allow the people to choose a name. They'll
no,
choose it to
I-
name a bridge, name a school. It's all this push, push,
absolutely.
push, and it's like, okay, let's get a First Nations name of a school we
Mm.
can first pronounce.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's
Like,
ludicrous. And the so-called language they're promoting is a variation on shorthand.
yeah.
Seriously, it's not like they had a language. They didn't have a
No,
language.
they didn't have a language. So make it, I
So
get the
they're just
sound.
like pulling our leg all the time and expecting us just to believe it. It's absurd.
Yeah, like, I mean,
I
you've
mean, who
got to
can
be
pronounce
realistic.
the James Bay Library is still the James Bay Library to me. They renamed it in some unpronounceable something. I don't know how to say it. I'm not about to even try to know how to say it. I just don't care. It's the James Bay Library to me.
Yeah, and this is what
Trudge
they're
Street is
doing.
still Trudge Street. It's not whatever the hell they may name that. I don't know.
They're
It's
doing
ludicrous,
it.
and it's cultural revolution stuff. It's denouncing the old guard. It's classic Marxist 101. I mean, this is nothing new. It's just that this generation is not even as good as perhaps others at
Yeah.
doing it. And they even at that point expect, government financing because they can't do it on their own. So they
Well,
even,
yeah, and there's no business innovate. Like, look at the country right now. Like
in the
here,
toilet.
I got this one thing that I was gonna put up. I mean, it's such a, it just nails me. I don't know if you can see it here, but here we go, right? Like, we've got Carney
Yeah,
here.
I know.
Like, this was a post, basically
Yeah.
that he
Well,
is just,
where's
how weak are we? How weak are we that we keep sending
and by the way,
millions?
who's looking after all the money? Is that Christie or Freeland, right?
Well,
She
yeah,
hasn't
like,
even been in Parliament because she's been looking after the money laundering or the money transfers, shall we say, quote unquote, to.
billions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars
I
to,
think we've done more per capita than almost any other country, like $25 billion or something insane.
and you know what's
I
sad right
why?
now? We don't even have any protests. Like, I don't even really hear it going. I mean, I hear it in the House of Commons, but like, when are we, like, we're
Well, it's
already
still going
record
Palestine
debt.
every week.
We're record debt right now.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And, we're
Very
sending as,
the gross domestic product. They're like 0.3%. So
and
that's
like, what is that money? Like, okay, is it to buy what? We don't even, like, when you do an audit in there, like, we don't even get, okay, they bought 25 tanks, they bought, water filtration plants, or, they bought like something we never get a report,
yeah,
right? And it's always taking the opposition, like, to go to these,
fully.
these meetings and sit there grinding it
Oh
out with
yeah,
these people. And they say to the cameras, well, we'll get back to you. I don't really know right now.
they
It's
never.
in process. We never really hear
nothing.
like, and you know it's deceitful
Yeah,
because they're using these poor
absolutely.
politicians as their little mules.
Well, that's what they are. That's all they are now. I mean, I think again, I'm old enough to remember when there might have been a little bit of that in play, but not like now. I mean, the level of cynicism and the level of sheer power politics and pulling in these blocks of voters to enable and further the corruption is something that is unparalleled, I think. And that
Yeah.
the whole notion of bringing a quarter of your population in brand new, and then hoping that they'll keep voting liberal just because you keep throwing money at them,
Yeah, I
it's
mean, and
unsustainable.
it's like, like I was watching Hunter Biden's interview by Sean Ryan yesterday. He was on the Sean Ryan show.
Okay, yeah, I saw
Hunter
some
Biden,
of it. Yes,
did you watch it?
I read about it. I didn't watch it. I think he's going to try to run for president.
Yeah, well, he's on there. He didn't make any of that. He's 50, he's really in debt. But he
Yeah,
did
how did
sit
that
there.
happen, by the way? I mean, he was getting his artwork sold for like $1 million or $500,000 each. He got all
He
sorts of money. Where does it all go?
well, I mean, I think he's in the whole 15 million or
Oh,
something, but
probably. But
he was alluding to, if you watch the interview, it's a long interview actually. It's a couple hours.
yeah,
And he's quite frank about, no, I got to give him credit. He did open up about his drug
well,
thing in a really detailed way.
yeah,
Like I'm
well,
talking,
good
he
for him.
really, he really actually impressed me there.
Yeah,
He
well,
he,
I
ac-
hear
he
that.
actually confided, saying, "Hey, how he's really done it. How it
Well,
affected
I
his."
think he was a victim of a lot of things growing up that tend to uh, give you the background to have these kind of problems. So I don't
Well,
think,
he was
but of
affected by his brother Bo dying,
course, sure,
which triggered it.
yeah,
And he said in the interview, if you watch it, that he was really affected. He says his dad's and he cares for the country, and he said, "If you know my dad, you know my dad," kind of stuff. But obviously, and then he kind of generally he got into Donald Trump Jr.
all right,
and he didn't like Jack Trapper, from CNN,
right,
and some of the news ones that attacked him
right,
for his, behaviors. And he went off on Trump basically. I mean, in a nutshell, he said Trump shouldn't have been that whole court case thing with him in New York was a sham. But he did come out and then he said, "Well, Trump's a crook anyway." So he was just generalizing these things,
I
and
know.
there was no answers. Like his the Trump administration is miles above anything the
Oh,
Biden thing, and he
no,
didn't, and he still hasn't learned that lesson.
no.
Like
Well,
he,
because it was business as usual. I mean, the whole idea of having, Camilla Harris and Tim Walz as president and vice president. Can you imagine the money laundering that would have gone on then? I mean, it would
well,
have
yeah,
to
and
the
then
roof.
well, and the thing is, when I watched his position, I don't think he's too impressed with them. But what I'm saying
Well,
is he's caught in between now, and he's like got Democrats no longer favoring him, and
right,
he's got Republicans that are, so he's kind of in this no man's land now.
definitely.
But he did impress me again with his opening up his heart about his brother and his
Right.
and the mistakes he
Well,
made.
people are human, and you have to respect that and remember that. And
Yeah.
the press, or once they get onto a particular thing, they're nasty one way or the other.
Well, yeah, and he was, and he made a good argument. Like one of the things I've always tried to be, I don't if it's a political somebody I don't like, we still don't want to kick somebody down who's
Shoot them in the
who's who's in a bad state mentally and
Well, you would hope not. I mean, it isn't very Christian, is it?
well, and the other, like, what
Or
I'm saying though, like, even though, like, Biden, I said, well, like, here he is. Now, he didn't really have any, like, role as a politician. So
not,
he's kind of like, he was assigned some charisma and all. He talked about all that,
yeah,
but he said he said there was all these charges and he got a pardon. So Sean asked him, "Well, you got a pardon, a complete pardon on everything." And then he said, "Well, let me explain that. I got a pardon. Yes, it's an all-encompassing pardon. So there was a lot of things there." But he said, admittedly, he said what his pardon was for was tax evasion. And he said, I tried to deal with the tax payment, but they told me that wasn't enough. I had to do more. And so he was trying to explain that he felt unjustified.
Right.
That was his big charge, tax evasion. He
Oh,
didn't pay taxes
so
in
he got out
time.
of the phone. So
Yeah, so like obviously he
it's a good
spent,
catch-all for other things that maybe they can't get you on, but they'll try to get you for.
yeah, I mean they got him on the basics and he did talk about like how messed he was up on drugs and making poor decisions and
Well,
everything.
and that's always a very convenient position to have the president of a son to be in. If for no other reason that I mean somebody's pliable and somebody is perhaps blackmailable one way or the other, whether he has done anything or not. So if you have a son, the first son, who's clearly got drug issues, that's can be used in a number of different ways. I mean, the Brian or the Brian Epstein, the Epstein files, Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, the man was clearly some kind of secret agent type guy. He was clearly blackmailing all sorts of people all the way around the world. I don't know why people are having such a hard time even figuring that out, all this time later. Ghislaine Maxwell's father was a part of Mossad. It doesn't take a lot to figure out were also part of the Mossad.
Yeah, I mean, it was like there was a lot of players involved, and he was in that ring with the young girls. And but what was interesting? Biden was talking about how he was bringing up he was bringing up a lot of kids, like
Mm,
protecting kids from trafficking. Yet his father did nothing with
no,
ICE to
I know.
like. So it would have been good, like when I was studying Biden and I was watching this thing, I didn't watch it in one shot. I took it in a couple chunks.
Right.
But at first I was kind of really swinging for the guy. And then later on he started to pile in. Like he would not give the Republicans some due respect, saying,
Right.
hey, he would say to Sean Ryan, who's more of a conservative. Sean
Mm-hmm.
Ryan isn't argumentative in his thing,
Mm-hmm.
but he wouldn't give Trump some kudos saying, yeah, you know what? I mean, like Trudeau's brother, like
Oh yeah.
my brother's really lost it. He could have said, you know what? I think my dad really lost it there. I think
Well,
Trump, I don't really like him as a person, maybe because he's insulted my father or whatever, but his policies, on economy and
definitely.
doing the ice, but he doesn't come out and say that. So now
No.
he's in no man's land. He
Well,
kind of went in there with a conservative interviewer, and he's trying to appease like Gavin Newsom, right? He's
yes.
trying to go in there because Gavin Newsom, I think, will run,
Oh,
and
great.
he's trying to get more of the mainstream conservatives to kind of slip for him, but they fail because they don't actually realize how bad the Democratic Party is. Sorry, and that's my take.
I'm just laughing because my granddaughter in the background is. I don't. You
Oh,
might
hey,
hear, but
sweetie's back there.
yeah, she's running up and down the hall, and
She wants to see granddad.
she knows that I'm in here with my show. I think so. She won't bother us. They're going to Seattle tomorrow, so I think she's up late. Well,
Hey, well
she's up late normally.
that was my rant today, Dave. It was just that, the
Oh, I guess.
in the American elections, they don't realize Hunter Biden and Gavin Newsom, they want to appeal to some of the conservatives, but they don't realize how
Well,
bad their party got. Like it left the
well,
station a long time ago. And it's kind of like
yeah,
the NDP. The NDP
exactly.
left the station. It doesn't
Well, they
it
don't
doesn't
represent.
resonate. The NDP doesn't resonate with normal
They don't represent
middle
any.
class people anymore.
Well, they don't. They hate middle class people. I
Yeah, I
mean,
mean it's
they
like
They want to destroy it as soon as possible because, again, they want you to worship the state. And if you have a middle class, they might get uppity and actually ask questions which are uncomfortable for some of these people in power. So, I see it as they want the destruction of the middle class, and they want us to go back into some kind of neo-feudalistic slash Marxist, dystopia with them in power, of course, because they're the smart people, not realizing that, like in any other revolution, they will be the first ones to be eliminated once they actually ever got in power. God forbid.
Hey, you know
Look
what?
at Iran
What
today. There's all these people protesting in the streets.
you just made a movie script right there with that comment. I was just thinking of that. Like if you could, if
Wow.
it was almost like if you could direct that in an image and with
Not a good. It's not a. It's not a feel
no,
good movie.
honestly, I've been talking with a guy.
Hey,
Like honestly, you got a script right there. If you could
well,
direct it, I'll shoot it with you.
well,
I mean,
I could write some of it for sure. It
maybe you
bothers me.
could do a script on like honestly, what you just said, like
It
there's
is.
so much
It is.
like there's a lot of movies coming out on Netflix and
Yeah.
Prime, but
No.
no, there's not a movie with what you just said. Like a group of middle class people that are like seeing all this go down, like ourselves, which our
It was a
parents were.
that was a freedom convoy.
Well, and it's
Way.
like exactly the freedom convoy were the middle class
Yeah.
coming up against these
Yeah.
authoritarian.
The Canadians that like have been living here for generations, who may be of a variety of backgrounds, but became middle class and worked towards a better good for Canada, which is now seen as somehow frightful because we'd much rather have all these diverse groups come in and pay them to worship the state.
Well, yeah, because see, they're going after the lower income people to give them kind of like against the vein of the middle
Oh,
class.
yeah.
And and
Well,
the immigrants coming in, the illegal, especially if they're working and they need to leave, but they're bringing them in, they're giving them money, they're giving the First Nations groups money, they're giving other groups like guys that are on the street drugs, they need
yeah,
housing, but the middle class are paying for the taxes, and then
exactly.
they put out all this money to, like I said, to the Ukraines,
Yeah.
and then they got the oligarchs who
Oh,
own
yeah.
the big
Yeah.
stuff. They're just like making profit hand over fist. And but if you don't meet their climate change agenda, your business will get, dinged points.
Sure.
So
Sure.
it's a slow shift. And
Oh, it's like the lobster in the pot, isn't it?
yeah, and
You turn up gradually. Oh, that idiot.
The King of England is
Yeah.
totally on game. So it's kind of like Canada is
Yeah.
I think I don't know if it was Trump or somebody said it's a failed state, really. We're a fail right now
Well,
we're failing.
absolutely we are. Yeah. Right on their border.
So to get off this roller coaster, it's going to take kind of like I hate to say it, but kind of like a revolution. Like,
Absolutely. Well, the RCMP warned of that already. In a reporting maybe, I don't know, 5 months ago, they said people are going to get very angry and it could be a serious situation. Now, I don't tend to believe a lot what the RCMP says, but I can see it. I can see it happening in a way, if 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 somehow people don't wake up.
well,
But
yeah, and I think that we've gone full circle because you talked about revolution, like you talked about people on the street and people like it's getting to this point where
what I
you,
find interesting that back being as I am so old, I remember the 1960s and the so-called revolution that happened in those days, and we had music and we had art and we had fashion, we had movies, we had literature, and all that the younger generation has now is TikTok and Instagram. I mean, you ask any of them what Taylor Swift, I don't know. I don't think there's any kind of equivalent culture from this period of time for young people that we had, when the tail end I had of the 60s, And if you go to clubs or bars anywhere, music a lot of times is music from 10 or 20 or 30 or 40 years ago. I found
Well,
that people don't have a lot of allegiance or affinity for their own generation and their own culture. They don't seem to have much of a culture.
well, yeah, and here's another one I picked off the internet. I don't know if you can see it there.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly. Yeah. 4 million refugees. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. The
See, we
liberals
talked
did.
about we talked about our debt, we talked about our
I
legalized,
know.
and we're not really scripting this, anybody watching. We're just this is kind of the topic that I
Really.
was talking about. The drug experiment is over.
Yeah. Well,
And
dream is over.
it's never actually, Trump has been doing everything opposite this, trying to get,
Well,
had our country been cooperative and maybe worked with him and said, hey, some of your policies are actually good that we can incorporate into Canada, we might have been a little bit different.
well, this is a prime minister who makes sure all of his companies are registered in Delaware just months before becoming prime minister. This is a prime minister who has, you know, a so-called blind trust with hundreds of different companies, which make and stand to make a great deal of money out of the Canadian and American, economies. Somebody who I think has a property in the Trump Tower, and I
Well,
could go
hey,
on and on.
you're telling me Carney's former company is in Delaware where
Yes.
Biden used to live? That was Biden's territory.
Yeah, well, it's a lot of companies who like to avoid certain tax rules register in Delaware, so it's not too much to do with Joe Biden. But he did that just before the election, and he doesn't have a constituency office in the PN, which is where he ran to be a member of parliament. And a lot of his business goes to a second story post box number in the Bahamas or yeah, I think it's Bermuda.
Interesting. I
So
mean,
here's
look,
somebody who's.
I mean, I'm not gonna knock. I'm not like a lot of people are knocking Carney. Like, look, Trump had the Trump International, and I've been reading his son's Eric Trump's book, how his dad turned all the business over to him,
Sure.
right?
Yes.
So I hear this argument. Everybody's bashing Carney for owning former businesses, or he's off the board. I know it's a bit different in Canada and the States because, but I know that Trump turned everything over to Eric and
Right.
to his junior. And I'm reading his book. It's actually quite fascinating. But
Probably.
his dad went over the top, and the Trump empire, I guess you call it. They try to do everything as much as they can against the tax people because they knew, especially under Biden's
Sure. Well, they're
thing,
going
that they were going to try to hang the Trump
to. Of course.
organization, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So with Carney, a lot of people say, well, he's a this and that. I mean, the guy was smart. He's a diplomat, governor of what the finances, the title in England he had, the head banker of the whatever, and
Sure.
uh,
But he's,
I mean,
he's very connected to the British royal family.
yeah, and
I
there's
think his wife is connected to the royal family in some manner.
so the only way I think
There's a lot going on.
yeah, I mean he's smart that way. He went in and he got connections, and unfortunately, the conservative base doesn't have that deep of connections just because in England they're pretty much like a swarm a star. What's the guy's last name? Starmer. Um,
Oh,
you know,
Keir Starmer. Yes, Sir. Yes,
yeah. I
thank
mean,
you.
the guy is just like again, he's like a liberal.
Well,
Um,
another useful idiot. They just prop up in the corner.
So to get out of this bandwagon, I mean, again,
Sure.
it's either going to take, I'm going to say something, I don't know if it was going to be, but it's almost like, well, okay, Alberta succeeds, joins the States, and
Yeah.
then it's going to actually take a big flip to flip the upper echelons of our Commonwealth. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what else to say. Like, how are
That's
you going to
what
flip?
has to happen. I just think that
Something's going to have to go where
well,
there's maybe a few provinces that say adios and
just
join the
said we're a post-national state.
yeah, and we're a failed
Why you could
state.
have well, he said post-national. So if that's the case, then why should he be upset if Alberta leaves or Quebec leaves?
And
Isn't
that,
that
and it's like,
part of
I,
a post-national state?
and it's getting more attractive to me, Dave, because I'm
It
going,
sure is to me.
I mean, like, what else
I'm sorry, but
because if we're slugging away with a minority of liberals that are just
oh,
clinging to power, we're
yeah,
slugging away with a minority of
yeah,
NDP and BC.
yeah.
Like, get these guys out of the way and let's
They
actually turn this country
leave.
into something beautiful.
Well, and it's still doable, but we have to have the right people in power. And
And
unfortunately,
then,
we have a group of academics, really, and people who have never owned a business in their life, and it shows. It shows really, really well that when you have activists and ideologues that run the country or the province, you're not going to last very well.
so
You know,
that's why everybody watching this show, support us. Send in your
right?
comments.
Yes,
Send in your comments because
right.
we do want to be a part of the good shift. And maybe we'll close it at that, Dave.
Yeah, I think so.
And
It was
then, so
band over.
I want to say good night to
Yeah,
everybody.
yeah. Just what was it? Laughing. Good night, Dick.
Have a good New Year's, everybody.
Yeah, the best.